In this video I'm going to do a top 10 list of my favorite art books. Welcome to Stayf Draws. I'm Stayf, a Dutch illustrator and animator, and Christmas is at hand and I will give you some tips of art books, and I'm going to do a top 10 list of books I really like. I'm going to start out with number 10 and then work my way up to number 1. So let's first start out with number 10, and that's a book which is called Setting the Scene. And this is a great book about the backgrounds and also the layouts of animation. And it's written by Fraser McLean, and it's a wonderful book. There's just a lot of samples of different studios. It's not only about the Disney studios, but you can also see work of other studios as Universal and Hanna-Barbera. And you have just a lot of samples on how they did 2D animation and how important layouts and the backgrounds are for an animated movie. And here's on number 9. It's a book that just came out, and I'm a big Disney fan. I'm very interested in the beginning of Disney, and this is Oswald the Lucky Rabbit. And Disney made Oswald the Lucky Rabbit before Mickey Mouse, and he lost all the rights to Oswald the Lucky Rabbit, and a lot of his animators were going to Universal because the distributor of Oswald the Lucky Rabbit had all the rights to Oswald. And this is a great book. It just came out, and these are all the movies Disney made. After that, the movies were made at Universal, but this is a book about all the Oswald animations Disney did. And you can see a lot of art like animation drawings and also some sketches for the posters they did. And there's just a lot of info on that era and how they made their cartoons. So this is a really a must-have if you really like Disney and Mickey Mouse. Oswald came first. And on number 8, I have a very important book. I really love this book. It's by Richard Williams, and it's called The Animators Survival Kit. Richard Williams, you may know as the director of Who Framed Roger Rabbit, and he made this book. And if you really want to learn how to animate, this is the go-to book, because he explains everything about doing walks. So if you can animate a walk in all different kinds of ways, then you will become a great animator. So this is a great book if you really want to learn everything about animation. And it's not only for 2D animators. If you're a 3D animator, this is a very helpful book as well. So on number 7, I have Pogo. And Pogo is one of my favorite comics. It was drawn by Walt Kelly, and this is by Fantagraphics, and I hope they will continue the series, because these are all the dailies and also the Sundays. And these are the complete syndicated comic strips, and this is the year 1953. And here you can read all the comic strips he made. And it was a very strange kind of comic, because all the characters, speak in a dialect, and they're from the Okefenokee Swamp. So if you like Pogo or have never heard about it, just check it out. This is one of my favorite comics, and it is for a lot of other artists as well. So if you know Bone by Jeff Smith, that was inspired by Pogo. So on number 6 is one of my favorite illustrators, American illustrators, and that's J.C. Leyendecker. I already did a review of this book. This is just a wonderful book about the life and work of J.C. Leyendecker. And he made a lot of covers for the Saturday Evening Post, and even before Norman Rockwell, because Norman Rockwell was a fan of J.C. Leyendecker, and he continued in the same vein as J.C. Leyendecker. But I like J.C. Leyendecker better because it's more stylized. Then on number 5, I have The Noble Approach by Maurice Noble, and it's called The Zen of Animation Design, and it's an interview by Todd Paulson. And Maurice Noble was a background artist and also a background designer, and he started out at Disney and later on he moved to Warner Brothers. And you might know him for his backgrounds for the Roadrunner and Bugs Bunny and a lot of other great Warner Brothers animations. This book is also a little bit about his life, but there's also a section where he explains everything about color theory, and that's very interesting. If you want to learn anything about color, then this is also a great book, and it has just a lot of samples of great artwork and the color schemes he used to achieve a certain effect. So on number 4 is a very big book, and it's about the 9 old men. And I was fortunate enough to meet 2 of them, Frank Thomas and Ollie Johnston, and I'll do a video about Ollie Johnston later, but this is a book about the 9 old men. And the 9 old men worked at Disney, and when Disney was occupied with other things like Disneyland, they took over the animation. And in this book they are featured, all the 9 men are featured, and what kind of men they were, because there was a lot of competition in the Disney studios, even between these 9 old men. And this book is written by John Kaymaker, and John Kaymaker makes a lot of great books about the old Disney animation studios. And he did some interviews and also features all the 9 old men. And it starts out with Les Clark, who really started out when Disney was just starting out. Wolfgang Reiderman, Eric Larson, Ward Kimball, Milt Kahl, Frank Thomas, Ollie Johnston, John Lounsbury, and Mark Davis. And you know, this is really great book to have about all the 9 old men, and there are a lot of other books about Ollie Johnston and about the separate 9 old men, but this is just an overview of all the 9 old men. Then on number 3 is a book which is called The Hidden Art of Disney's Musical Years, and this is a series of books, and I have the first one, this the second one, and now a third one is out. This is a great book of different artists who worked at Disney, because Disney had the opportunity to work with the greatest artists of their time, and they worked at Disney. So it's a very interesting book. You can see a lot of different approaches, and this is from the era, the 1940s, and it starts out with Fantasia, of course, and there was a lot of art in Fantasia. And you know, these are just wonderful inspirational books to see the preliminary sketches and, you know, just ideas they had to jot down on paper. So they're very fresh, and these things never ended up in the movies of Disney, but sometimes I think this is more interesting than what actually ends up on screen. Then the second book that just came out, that's also about a Disney artist, and that's Awaking Beauty and the Art of Eyvind Earle. And he is best known for his work for Sleeping Beauty, and this artist is really amazing because he has a very stylized, and here you see on the back you see him. And finally there is a book about his art, and this was published by the Disney Museum, and they did some other books as well, because there was, or there still is, an exhibition of Eyvind Earle there. And this is just a catalog and more back info about Eyvind Earle, how he started out. But also the biggest chunk of the book is about his art. And of course the art he did for Disney. It's just a wonderful book, and you can see how he developed his style. And on number 1 is still my favorite book, which is called Disney Animation: The Illusion of Life. This is the original book from 1982, and it's now called The Illusion of Life Disney Animation, I think. And it's written by Frank Thomas and Ollie Johnston. And I got this copy from Frank Thomas and Ollie Johnston in 1982, and it's also signed. And this is a little bit of the Disney Bible, and they tell everything about animation, but also how it was to work at the Disney studios at that time. I really recommend this book if you want to know anything about Disney animation from the golden era. Then Disney Animation: The Illusion of Life is a great book. So this is my top 10 art books, and I'll leave a link in the description box down below, or you can press on the I. Then you go straight to my Amazon page, and there you can see a lot of other great books I have bought. And I will do some reviews about them, but this is just my top 10 list. What I really would like to know is what kind of art books are your favorites. Please let me know in the comments down below. Drawing is fun, and practice makes perfect. See you next time. Doodles!